welcome back. Now for the final Q&A. Daniel, what has the audience asked for? What are they wondering about?
Well, we have several questions, and I see questions are popping in as we speak. So I think we will just jump straight into them chronologically and answer as many questions as possible. If we are not able to answer all of your questions, please feel free to contact us, and we shall hopefully be able to give you a written answer. I also want to remind you that each participant who has signed up for this course will also receive a 1-hour free consultation that can be used to whatever you need to ask about or discuss with us. So, first question, will the test cases be provided up front together with the template?
Yes, both the Word document and the Excel template will be given out and sent out.
Yeah. On that note, do you have any versions of the template targeted different use cases? For example, a product that needs to be tested are Bluetooth devices relying on smartphone. So some questions will end up not applicable, or where the guidance text could be targeted for better answers. And to give you a short answer, no, the evaluation template that we use is this as a default. However, as you say, the idea is that we quickly can identify the requirements that are not applicable and leave them behind us while we're focusing on the other requirements which will be deemed applicable. In the introduction, Geir mentioned the restriction of the harmonized standard. Could it be so strict that it mandates the use of a notified body? Could you please elaborate on that? What kind of restriction could you imagine this to be? Do you know examples of similar restrictions? So I can give a short answer. This is purely guessing what the restrictions may be. Restrictions may come in the form of more flexibility in how you satisfy the requirement. It can be restrictions in the sense that the requirements is more difficult to comply to. For example, the exceptions may be removed, or the requirement becomes more generic and more conditional. There is really no way to tell. As Geir mentioned, the EU consultant had quite a lot of comments, and it will be, simply put, it will be interesting to see what the Commission decides to do with those comments. But again, as Geir said, our impression is that there will be, there may come a standard with some restrictions. I mean, if you do not, if it is not being harmonized, then you would need to go to a notified body either way. So there is that. But as mentioned in the example, could it be so strict that it mandates a user for a notified body? Maybe. It's sadly I can't give you a definitive answer. If you want to know more, contact us with the 1-hour consultation, and we can maybe give some more in-depth feedback. Moving on, Hey, I have a question. If you are creating a defense system which isn't connected to the internet, will RED or CRA affect you in any way? So speaking for the RED, it's basically a two-part question, whether or not your product is a radio equipment device, and whether or not you are connected to the internet. The only exceptions from the top of my head where you don't need an internet connection is if your product falls under the category of toys, childcare products, and wearables. So those need to satisfy the requirements, even though they are not internet connected. Most of the other products will need to comply. The CRA will widen the scope some more and include not only wireless products. So yeah, don't have the definition of the CRA scope from the top of my head, but as with the previous answer, if you have more in-depth questions, please feel free to give me an email or schedule the 1-hour consultation that is given with this course. Next one is no questions at the moment. The 1-hour support. Yeah, so if you wish to get in contact with us, the use of the 1-hour meeting, which is given in relation to signing up for this course, can of course be used for these purposes. It is frustrating to hear that the authors of the standard refuse to elaborate on what is covered when they say connected to internet. Therefore, I would like you to elaborate on what internet connected means. Is the standard applicable for products that depends on internet one way or another, either connect to the cloud itself or allow remote connection from the internet? If you have a piece of equipment that is local area network use only and is never expected to be reachable from the internet, i.e. behind a firewall, and connections are always from computer within a local area network, never internet, what about that? So I understand and share your frustration. Most of our meetings with customer is just that. Is my product in scope? This is somewhat in the gray area. What about this? What about that? And yeah, as you say, it's simply put frustrating. But therefore, I would like you to elaborate on what internet connected means. So the definition that is given is able to communicate over the internet. So if your product is able to communicate itself over the internet to a backend, to a associated service as a mobile application or whatever, then most likely it will be in scope. The idea behind this vague definition was that most technology and product would fall in under the scope of this directive. And the second part was, is the standard only applicable for product that depends on internet one way or another, either connect to the cloud itself or allow remote connections from the internet? So whether or not the product is single-handedly speaking with the backend or cloud, or whether or not it allows for remote connection, does not matter in terms of whether or not it is in or out of scope. If it has an external connection to the internet, it's most likely in scope. And yeah, that's basically the the answer for that one. And then based on what data you are transmitting or sending, you will be subject to either 1831-1, 2, and 3, which are respectively the 3.3, D, E, and F in the directive. If you have a piece of equipment that is for local area only, never expected to be reachable from the internet, i.e. it's behind a firewall, and connections are always from a computer with local area network, never internet. What about that? Once again, this is a gray area. We do have many questions regarding this. If the firewall is what makes the product not being able to connect to the internet, and this would count more as a protection measure towards external entities more than it would constitute a rationale for why it's not internet connected, in my opinion, from the top of my head. But as always with these gray area scenarios, I recommend contact us in the 1-hour consultation, and we can have a more in-depth and informative discussion about these issues, because it is not always that easy to give a definitive answer right away.
The more information you have, the more educational conclusion we can take, and we have very limited information based on just 2 or 3 sentences. So yeah, I will then suggest that you contact us for 1-hour consultation where we can ask you more questions about how this is set up. So yeah, back to you, Daniel.
Next on, we have 3 questions. Number 1, will the Excel template be provided to us at the end of the course?
Yes.
That is a yes. Second questions, are the 3 1831 standard complementary and overlapping with each other only based on use, network privacy, and financial purpose? And what changes between the 3 standards are the requirement and assets, since the sections are the same? What is the method to apply one rather than the other? So to summarize the difference between the 3 standards, the 18031-1 are only applicable for products that are internet connected and radio equipment that are internet connected. If you have internet connected radio equipment which in addition are processing personal and privacy data, then you will be subject to the 18031-2. This is also for the toys and childcare and so on. So in that case, you need to satisfy the requirement from both the standards. There are quite a lot of overlap between the 2, both in mechanisms and number of requirements within the different mechanisms, but there is quite a lot of overlap. I think the 1831-1 has 33 requirements, and the 18031-2 has 43 requirements.
Yeah, so there's very much overlap, I will say.
Yeah. And then again, the third one is if you are processing monetary value or financial data, you will need to satisfy the requirements of 18031-3. How to correctly identify assets is the third question. So this is a really good question, and one of the good things that I personally liked about the 18031 standard compared to other cybersecurity standard out there is that the standard is actually forcing the developer and manufacturer to identify these assets. I mean, previous evaluation or previous standards are simply saying use good mechanisms and security protocols to ensure secure protection, but this standard is actually forcing the developers to identify what is it we actually want to protect, what do we need to protect in order to implement these secure mechanisms. So how to correctly identify the assets? It's by listing all of the assets in this based on the definition in the standard. This is also one way why the cybersecurity evaluation is so customer or manufacturer focused, as well as the correspondence between the Nemco and our customers, so to say, is that you guys know your products best, and it is up to you to correctly identify and describe the assets, and then we can help to verify whether or not it has been correctly identified. Next question: should session keys non-persistent be considered an asset? Generally speaking, keys when are used for security purposes should be considered an asset, but looking at the definition for security asset, and if a session key is considered would fall under the definition of a security asset, then it would need to satisfy the subsequent requirement for those categories. That being said, I see that it was typed non-persistent, so for example, the secure storage mechanism is only regarding persistently stored assets, so it would be not applicable in those cases most likely. But it falls down to whether or not you can put your asset under one of the assets definition that is needed. Let's see, I think that was all of the questions I have gotten.
Okay.
So, as I said, if there are any questions that comes to mind at a later stage, contact us. You all should be given the recording and the material and so on. So I guess I can give the word over to you, Oscar, to close the meeting.
First of all, thank you to everybody watching around the world. Thank you so much. Thank you to Daniel and Øyvind for being here. And I just want to remind you that you have a 1 hour free consultant. You can use it. I also want to, hopefully you can now start, because now hopefully during this course you have learned how to approach this standard, and you can start because there's only 6 months left. So from all of us, I thank you for watching us. Thank you so much. And hopefully we will hear from you, and I see you at a later date.